What's going on, everyone? So Zach Lavine, he is the rumor mill guy for a potential trade target for the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers seem to be somewhat interested. There's kind of reports that are like, they're not like super stoked on Lavine, that they're kind of interested in DeMar DeRozan because they could get DeMar and, an Alex Caruso for basically the same price that you could get a Zach Lavine for. Zach Lavine's salary is a bit of a concern, a bit of an issue. Obviously, the injury history for Zach Lavine is an issue. But look, Zach Lavine would help the Lakers tremendously. There's no doubt about that whatsoever, right? He's very dynamic. He applies rim pressure. He can shoot the basketball, be a 3-level scorer, right? Be a guy that go off and give you 50 on any given night. Basically everything the Lakers need from like a go-to scorer. He can hit some big shots down the stretch. He can be a little inconsistent at times, but his inconsistencies aren't like Reaves and D'Lo's inconsistencies, right? Like even Lavine, when he's having a bad game, still is give you like 17 to 20 points, right? Where like Reaves and D'Lo, their bad games, it's like they're giving you 10 if you're lucky. So there is a difference between those guys. And just Zach Lavine would be fantastic next to LeBron James, being able to play off the ball, being able to slash, just pick and pop actions, all kinds of stuff. You just give him the ball and let him go to work, especially when the offense is stagnant. Give us that over-the-top shooting. Give us an athletic guard. And again, as I mentioned, rim pressure. We don't have that real rim pressure guard that can just, even if the shot's not falling, just get to the basket, create some contact, get to the foul line, get a shot going, right? Zach Lavine just impacts in so many ways that the Lakers could really use. However, we got new reports and we got new news that the Chicago Bulls want both Austin Reaves and Rui Hachimura. Now, there have been reports kind of floating around and people have mentioned that Chicago would want Austin Reaves. I mean, it makes sense. Every team is going to be interested in Austin Reaves and try to acquire Austin Reaves from the Lakers, especially in any type of trade. And the way Chicago's looking is like, hey, the Lakers, you don't have a bunch of assets trade-wise, right? Lakers only have one first. They could do like a pick swap and then a couple seconds. So they don't have the picks compared to some of the other teams where if there's a bidding war, the only way to really kind of offset that is to include players. Now, Rui Hachimura is probably about as close to a lock of being traded as it gets, which sucks. Like, I really like Rui Hachimura. I want him to be here long term, but you got to give up something to get something. And the Lakers are in win now mode, and I just don't think Rui will have as big of an impact as a Zach Lavine or even like a DeMar DeRozan for that matter, at least currently, right? Rui's better for the long term, especially post LeBron James, but Rui has to play the 4. He just can't defend the threes in this league. He doesn't have the lateral quickness, and so he's not going to get the consistent minutes necessary for him to have the impact that we need him to have on a regular basis. And then as far as Austin Reaves go, it kind of comes down to like, who would you rather have, like dealer's choice, Austin Reaves or D'Angelo Russell? There's a real argument both ways, right? Like, I also think right now, like for a complete win now mode, I think just based on what we see, because again, we only have the information that is currently present. We don't know what, a year from now or a couple months from now will look like. And thus far this season, Austin Reaves has really struggled. He's not shooting the basketball well. He's not doing and being the Austin Reaves we need. He's been terrible defensively. D'Lo has been the better player and the more consistent player thus far. He's also shooting like 42% from 3. He's the better playmaker of the two, which if you're going to trade D'Lo, Reaves has not shown the ability to be a quality playmaker. He can find the open man, but it's not the same thing as actually being a playmaker. So then that puts just so much more pressure on LeBron now and Gabe Vincent if you're to keep him, which Gabe Vincent isn't really known as like a great playmaker. He, again, can find the open man and make plays, but he's kind of like that off-guard ball or off-ball guard that would be great alongside LeBron James that can initiate the offense. But, he's not the guy that you're looking to kind of just get into the teeth of the defense and create for others. D'Lo's been very good at that thus far this year. And again, D'Lo's been the better player. I know that there's the concerns about the postseason, right? And how D'Lo will look. Austin Reaves was better, although people seem to forget that Reaves had his struggles too in the playoffs. Do we just completely forget the first 3 games of the Warriors series where Reaves was just getting torched and was unplayable nearly? And yes, credit to him that he actually played through it. And D'Lo was great in the first 2 rounds. It was that Denver series, which Reaves really shined and D'Lo didn't, which kind of creates this form of recency bias, right? I think, again, for the moment, right, I think you got to go with keeping D'Lo. Long term, I think Reaves is the better choice. But I understand the concerns about D'Lo come postseason. He's also led a team to the postseason as the guy for Brooklyn. And if you have a Lavine or you have a DeMar, you don't need, you can weather D'Lo having a bad series, right? Because you need his playmaking more than you need him to be an elite scorer and give you 17 a game. He might not even give you 17 a game anymore if you have a DeMar or a Zach Lavine. Where Reaves, again, one of the big assets of Reaves is his ability to close down the stretch and hit shots down the stretch. He's done a really good job of that. But if you have a DeMar DeRozan or Zach Lavine, again, how much opportunity is Austin Reaves going to have or going to get to have that? Where in the Reaves role, you're going to have DeMar DeRozan or Zach Lavine playing that role. So you kind of neutralize Reaves and his value for the Lakers. Now, I do think that if you're the Lakers, you're better off bringing D'Lo off the bench, right? And going to start games or even close games. And this is just me personally. I think you go Zach Lavine, Cam Reddish, Jared Vanderbilt, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. Because I think between Zach Lavine or DeMar DeRozan, whomever, I think between that guy, LeBron, and Anthony Davis, you have enough offense in the starting unit. Now you just need that defense. And I think Cam Reddish and Jared Vanderbilt would provide that. And then from a bench standpoint, D'Lo could come off the bench, play some significant minutes on that role, provide some relief for LeBron, also play alongside LeBron, and just do that. The problem is I don't think D'Lo would be happy about that, and I don't know we don't know if he can play well off the bench, right? Reaves, we know he's willing to sacrifice and come off the bench. We know he won't make any fuss or pout or anything. Also, we know that he basically gives you the same production whether he comes off the bench or he starts. We don't really know that about D'Lo, so that's kind of a question mark in that regard. Now, as far as Reaves goes, as I mentioned, the bench is a good part. He's also leading the league as 6th man based on per. So he's been one of the better 6 men. Again, hasn't been great night in and night out, but he is still a better 6 man. Also, he plays really well off of LeBron James. With a Zach Lavine and a DeMar DeRozan, just like I said with D'Lo, you don't really need him. You don't need Reaves to be great as consistently. But if Reaves can get back to form and can get back to the Reaves that we know he can be, then Reaves by far is the better option, right? Because again, he could play that 6-man role. Yes, he's not as good of a playmaker, but what he provides would be so valuable, especially in that 6-man role, and kind of could help supplement when a Lavine or a DeMar or whomever are out of the games. So I do love the idea of Austin Reaves, but not if he's going to continue to play the way he's been playing the entirety. And I know some people look at it as but he'll elevate in the playoffs and he'll do this. We don't know that, right? We all thought that he was going to be great this season thus far. We have one playoff series sample size, or one playoff run sample size. It's not like he's done it year in and year out to where we can go. I mean, Rui has proven that he elevates his game more. He did it for the Wizards in the playoffs, and he did it for the Lakers in the playoffs. So Rui, we have more of a sample size and educated guess that he is going to be great in the playoffs than Austin Reaves. We have that one run. And that was without the pressure. That was without him being a focal point for the defenses. That was without defenses actually putting together defensive schemes to slow him down. That was without the rule change. There's a lot of factors that go into that, right? So, again, I think that there's a real argument there either way. But, look, you're going to have to give something to get something. And, look, the fact that they want Austin Reaves and Rui Hachimura, well, one, just because they want that doesn't mean they'll get it. But maybe that's also why the Lakers are more interested in DeMar DeRozan, right? Because it's not going to cost as much to get DeMar, right? You're not going to you don't have to give up Reaves to get DeMar DeRozan. One, how many teams are going to be interested in trying to trade for DeMar? Two, he's a free agent. Three, we know, and the Bulls know, he wants to be a Laker. So if you're the Lakers, you don't, like, when it comes to DeMar, you're kind of in the driver's seat a little bit. Because it's like, are you really going to lose DeMar for nothing? Right? So that's a real thing. And then how many teams are going to take chances? And I know some people are going to say, well, look at the Kyrie thing. The Kyrie thing was a completely different situation. Kyrie didn't have a market. Not because he wasn't talented, but because of just the antics and stuff, right? Where DeMar, it's not that, like, he doesn't, I don't think he has a huge market. I think his market is very limited, but it's mainly because of how many teams need a go-to scorer that are contenders. Most of those teams already have that, right? So, like, a team like Miami, I think, would be the biggest threat to maybe acquire DeMar DeRozan. Outside of that, it's like, one, how many teams are going to take the chance on DeMar? And again, there's no guarantee that DeMar would re-sign. With the Kyrie and Dallas situation, Dallas knew Kyrie was probably going to re-sign because he didn't have a market financially, and the Lakers didn't have the money to give him a significant contract. So Dallas was kind of in the driver's seat with the Kyrie situation, right? And on top of that, even if he did leave, Dallas unloaded a ton of salary. They would have had a max slot. So again, it's a completely different situation. But it does make sense that maybe that's why the Lakers are, based on reports, again, we don't know this for certain, but maybe that's why, based on the reports, that the Lakers are so keen on, like, hey, we need to target like a DeMar DeRozan or something like that over like Zach Lavine. But again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments section below. What do you think? How do you feel? Do you think, like, yeah, hey, you got to go get a DeMar DeRozan over Zach Lavine if it means trading Reaves? Would you rather trade Reaves? Would you rather trade D'Lo? Again, I'm not saying that. Look, I believe that they're going to trade D'Lo. I do. I think that they're going to try to unload D'Lo over Reaves. I just think that there's an argument either way to be made. Those are my thoughts. But do you feel the same way? Again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.